Hello everyone and welcome to my ambassador tournament. If any of you don't know me, my name is Natt. I've done a couple of these before, but this is my first one in 2024. Very, very exciting way to start. So when I played this tournament, I've already actually played these deals. So there are quite a lot of hands where what I did didn't really matter. So it's more about the thought process that we're going to talk today. And this is one of those hands. So as you can see with this south hand, here at the bottom, I only had 4 points. I only had an ace. There was nothing I was going to say as long as my partner stayed silent throughout the hand, which today he did. So the opponents bid their way up to 6 hearts, and there's not really much I can do about that. So at this stage, I started thinking the moment I saw my partner's lead, and that was the 3 of clubs. So at that point I knew that my partner had an odd number of clubs. Now, given my partner's slightly unusual shape today, he might have bid with this shape. So I thought it was more likely that my partner had 3 clubs on this occasion. But whatever I know that given that I have the ace of spades and the opponents have bid up to a slam using blackwood, I know that the ace of diamonds must be in Declarer's hand, as well as the king of hearts. But specifically with aces, Declarer must have those cards. I also knew that Declarer had to have a cubit in spades and that it couldn't be a singleton, because imagine if Declarer had a singleton. Instead of king 3 in their hand, imagine that it's just little 3. So you can put that king over in your partner's hand, and then really my partner's going to be bidding, right, with king, queen, jack 10, 9 in the suit and 6 cards. There's no way my partner's going to pass with this hand. So if that's the case, then it must be the king that's in Declarer's hand. It's not really good news for us because I have the ace of spades, but unfortunately for Declarer that's onside. So I'm just expecting this contract to make now. Even if it turns out that Declarer has a 3rd spade, there's nothing we can do, because given that we also worked out that Declarer has the ace of diamonds, when this 3rd round of diamonds gets played, they can simply throw away a spade from the dummy. So there's no real hope of taking the contract down, but it's good to get an idea of how to think on these hands. Since I'm the first one to play, all of these results are going to be 50%. So don't get too attached to the percentages. Let's talk about the next one. On this hand, still didn't do any bidding. So there's a slightly better hand here, so 9-point hand. And the opponent's bid 1 spade, 2 diamonds by responder, 2 hearts, so we know that Declarer is 5 and 4 in the majors, and then East raised that to 4 hearts. All fine. Once again, my partner led a club. This time that's the unbid suit, so it's a really clear choice. And the 7 makes it look like an even number of cards. If Declarer has 5-4 in the majors, it's actually kind of weird that my partner has an even number of clubs, because that gives Declarer either 2 clubs or 4 clubs. If Declarer has 2 clubs, then I'm expecting a lot of the time that the contract is going to make, because either Declarer has 6 spades, as they did today, or they have 2 diamonds, and then they can easily set up the diamond suit. If Declarer has 4 clubs, then they have no diamonds, so that's kind of better because it means that they've got a void in their partner's best suit. And then the hands aren't fitting together quite so well. The Declarer beat my queen with the ace. cashed the ace of spades, and roughed a spade over to the dummy. So did you notice what happened in the spade suit? On the first round, partner played the 7. And on the second round, partner played the 5. So that high-low indicated an even number of cards. Now, given that I can trust my partner's count signals, I know that if partner has an even number of cards, it's going to be 2, because I know that Declarer has at least 5 spades. And in that case, Declarer must have, 6 spades. So now I know the shape. I know that Declarer started with 6 spades, 4 hearts, 2 clubs, and therefore 1 diamond. Remember, it's not possible for Declarer to have 3 clubs at this point. So they roughed a spade, and then things got a little bit sad because it turned out that although I knew Declarer had a singleton diamond, it happened to be the king. So all of a sudden, it's starting to look like Declarer is really going to be able to set up this diamond suit. If it had been a small singleton, then they would have had to use up their ace now and then take 2 roughs to establish the suit. So the entries to dummy would have been a little bit more complicated. Declarer roughed another spade over to the dummy. Cashed the ace of diamonds, throwing away their club loser. For some reason my partner decided to bear the queen of diamonds. Probably trying to get extra diamond roughs. Then the jack of diamonds was also a winner, but then of course my partner roughed that. So another point about this trump holding that my partner has, queen 9, 6, 5. This first rough, it's a good thing. It gains us a trick. It's very tempting to think, oh, when my partner roughs, that's a good thing. It gains us a trick. So yes, that was the case here. But look later on. A club, which was roughed by Declarer. A spade, roughed in the dummy. Another trump drawn, and now you notice that my partner has a trump trick. So we're always expecting this queen of trumps to take a trick. However, diamond, which is a winner, and because Declarer doesn't need to rough this, they simply throw away their spade, my partner is forced to rough. And when my partner is forced to rough, the queen is now singleton, which means that the trump trick is gone. So whereas the first rough actually helped us, the second rough isn't helping us. We already had that trick. So it's a little bit annoying here because then partner's obviously going to play a club, and Declarer has the highest trump out there. So aside from the thought process of thinking about the layout on this hand, another important thing to draw your attention to is that Declarer's singleton being the king of diamonds was really, really helpful for him. It just meant that it was really easy to set up the diamonds. And the other thing to note is that although the first rough was a good thing, it was a trick for us, the second rough didn't actually help us at all because we were already expecting our partner to take that trick, given the holding that he had. So a bit of food for thought there. It's very tempting to think that singletons are always good, or even to think of Declarer has a singleton in his partner's suit that's bad for him. It is, but not when it's the king, sadly. On this hand, I got to do a little bit of bidding for the first time. I had a 2 club overcall, and although it's only 11 points, it's a good 11. You know, I've got a 6 card suit, a decent 6 card suit, and it's a hand I would happily open the bidding with, so I don't feel sad at all about overcalling this 2 clubs, even though I'm vulnerable. Another important thing about this 2 club overcall is that because it's only 1 step lower than the opponent's next bid in their suit, which here is diamonds, it takes up a lot of space. It takes up the maximum amount of space. So from that point of view, by bidding 2 clubs, I'm taking away all the bids in between where West could try to show a major suit. And therefore, he's a little bit stuck here. Whereas normally, he would be able to just bid a heart to show hearts. He can't do that anymore, because if he bids 2 hearts, it's always showing a 5-card suit over my bid. So things start to get a little bit complicated. With only 4, he has to double, even though he's only got 4-3 in the majors, and even though his partner might expect him to have 4-4 in the majors. Today, this could have worked quite well, given that De Clara had 4-4 in both of the majors. It could have meant that they played in the wrong suit. However, on this occasion, the lower ranking suit happens to be the one where West has the 4-card holding. If West's majors had been the other way round and he'd had 4 spades and 3 hearts, what does he do over the 2 heart bid? How does he show 4 spades rather than just a hand that had 5 but was too weak to bid 2 spades? So that can be a real headache for the opponents when you make these bids that take up all the space. So 2 clubs, I'm always very happy to bid over 1 diamond. The opponents today only stopped in 3 hearts, so I knew that De Clara had a rock bottom minimum. And the defense on this hand was really, really interesting. To the point where it's actually, even now, looking at the hand, unclear what the right thing to do is. So I cashed the ace of clubs on lead. Seems normal. And my partner played the 10 to show his doubleton. Now, of course, it could be from a queen 10 doubleton. It could just be the lowest card that partner had. But most of the time, it's going to be from the empty doubleton, just because De Clara is more likely to have points. Now, notice here, if De Clara manages to play the queen of clubs to push out my king, the jack becomes a winner. And if the jack is a winner, that might allow De Clara to discard a loser. You can imagine that De Clara could have something like this 3-card diamond holding and then want to throw away one of the diamonds. Maybe they might not be winners, although certainly one of them is today. So from that point of view, it looks really tempting to play king of clubs and a 3rd round of clubs for our partner to ruff, and that will prevent De Clara from using that jack of clubs to discard something for free, because he'll be forced to over ruff. There's another possible benefit that I thought about while I was playing this, of potentially forcing De Clara to ruff, which is that you can imagine with a holding such as the one he has today, say that he's forced to ruff with the 8. Now his shorter finesse holding is in his own hand, and something like that is going to make it extra appealing for him to choose to finesse against the hearts through my partner rather than through me. And I'm actually the one who has the queen of hearts, so I'd quite like for him to try that finesse. So maybe I could induce a mistake by playing in this way. Of course, it is kind of more likely that De Clara is going to take the finesse the wrong way around anyway, given my overcall, because I've shown club length. It looks like I've got 6 of them, so he's expecting that I'm normally going to have fewer hearts. Not the case today, but it's going to be the case most of the time. But no harm in making it look even more appealing. So you might think, why would you not just continue with 2 rounds of clubs? Well, the problem is that there are other hands that De Clara might have where it could be completely the wrong thing to do. So imagine that instead of just having a short diamond suit, remember that East is open to diamond, East could actually have a 5-card diamond suit, a really good one. Could have the king of diamonds and only be expecting to lose one trick in the suit when missing the queen. So if that's the case, he's going to be able to create extra winners in his hand that allow him to discard from the dummy. And if he's expecting to create a club trick, then he will discard his spades. So imagine, instead of having only the queen of spades and the king of diamonds, swap those cards. Maybe our partner could have the king of spades, and that trick is going to disappear if we don't play a spade now. Even if we play a club and then a club and declare a ruffs, if he draws trumps and plays a diamond, taking a finesse and losing to our queen, even if he does lose to our queen, even playing a spade now is not going to give us our trick, because the ace is still in the dummy. So it's going to be too late. We'll play a spade, he'll win, and then he'll play 2 rounds of diamonds, and or however many he needs to, and throw away his spades. So it might be really imperative for us to switch to a spade now. And actually, since playing the hand, I've thought about it quite a lot, and it's really impossible to know, as things stand, which kind of shape declare our house. And on the layout we have today, it actually doesn't matter what we do. But while I was playing the hand under some time pressure, I chose to switch to a spade, and that could well have been the right thing to do, but it's not clear, and I think it's one that would be best solved by a computer. So here's me switching to a spade. Today it didn't matter because we were always going to get our spade trick. There's no risk of a discard on the diamonds. And also, declarer drawing the trumps the wrong way round also meant that they couldn't set up that club trick. So everything was fine today. On this hand, I was back to not doing much bidding. East opened 2 spades. Wouldn't personally be my choice. It seems a little bit good for 2 spades, but he is vulnerable, so you could definitely make a case for 2 spades. Today it meant that the opponents missed their game. So on this occasion, he went 2 spades and nobody argued or even supported, even with West's hand, and I was on lead. So there's no reason to lead anything bizarre here. Simply led the top of my sequence in hearts. And I want to draw your attention to something here. When you have holdings like this, Jack 10-9, it's a cluster of touching honours. And watch what happens to the heart spots as things go. Jack, Queen, King, all used up on one trick. The ace and the 8 are the only relevant cards now, and my 10 and 9 are starting to look rather delicate. The partner did something very clever at this point and switched to the Queen of Clubs, which was brilliant. I was very happy with this switch. And that pushed out Dummy's ace. So although Declarer had not been correct in taking the finesse today, it actually didn't cost at all, because he was able to just swap the trick and throw away a club loser at this point. But notice that when the ace of hearts gets cashed, now my second big card is pulled out, the 9. And now the 10 is the only thing standing in the way from the 8 of the 8 of hearts becoming a winner. So Declarer drew a couple of rounds of trumps. They were 2-2, the king was on side, everything went well for him. Now, he let me win a trick. And it might be very tempting at this point to cash the heart winner, because you're thinking, well, I'm forcing him to ruff in a long hand, it's not going to be a problem. But remember that that will establish the 8. So it can be quite hard to keep track of intermediate cards like this sometimes, but try to think about when they're relevant. If you have a short holding with lots of intermediate cards in it, it's a sign that maybe keeping track of these 8s is going to be really important. So rather than playing the 10 of hearts, I chose to play the 10 of clubs. Nice passive thing to do. Declare a ruffed, crossed over to the dummy, and now when he played the 2 of hearts and ruffed it in his hand, the 8 became a winner. So at this point, Declarer decided to play a diamond out of his hand, and I had to decide whether I needed to play the ace of diamonds or not. Now it might look a little bit scary to play low, because if I play low and Declarer wins in the dummy, he can cash his winning 8 of hearts now, and he can throw something away from his hand. But actually, what are we losing in that case? If Declarer does, as he did today, play a diamond to the dummy and cash the 8 of hearts, we know that he still has the king of diamonds left in his hand, because the only way he's getting to the dummy with the queen is if he has the king in the first place. We also know for sure that Declarer started with 3 diamonds, because we already saw a singleton heart. We already saw exactly 3 clubs, and we already saw that he had 6 spades. So from that point of view, he has to have 3 diamonds. So throwing this 3rd diamond away is actually no different from us rising with the ace and just establishing his queen and king the old-fashioned way. Whereas, if I play low, it could be that my partner has the king of diamonds. It's perfectly possible. Declarer started with, perhaps let me show you, because it's easier to visualize when you can see the whole hand. The ace queen of spades, 6 points, and the jack of clubs, 7. That seems like a normal 2 spade opening. You've got 7 points, you're in the 6 to 9 range, which is traditional, and Arjun said that it could be 6 to 10. So, although lots of people, including myself, would not have been able to have the king of diamonds here I knew it was a possibility. But actually, playing low didn't cost at all. It just meant that if partner had both the king and the jack, that he would be able to win the trick with whichever card was required. So it was a perfectly sensible thing to do. Okay, on this hand, got to be Declarer for the first time, played in 4 spades, and this is a pretty interesting hand. Things to note here. One is that although the opponents have a 10 card diamond fid, they only bid 2 diamonds and then gently raised to 3. So that seems like not that much bidding for hands that have a 10 card fid. Usually they bid to at least the 4 level, the level of the fid, because that's the level of 10 tricks, so that's the level of 10 cards. In that case, it seems very, very unlikely that West had 5 card support for his partner's suit, especially when 2 diamonds nearly always promises 6 here. Vulnerable at the 2 level, it's a minor, it's very, very likely to be at least 6. So with 5, I'm expecting that West probably would have bid 4 diamonds rather than 3. So in that case, how can we use that information? Well, the key suit here is the trump suit. We've got to decide whether to take a finesse against the queen, or whether to just play ace-king and hope that it falls. Now, according to 8 ever, 9 never, because we have a 9-card fit, we're expecting the queen to fall when we cash ace-king. But 8 over 9 never is only a guideline, it's just something that you use when you don't have information about the hand. Any information about the hand can easily tip the probabilities another way. So here, as you can see, with East having very likely 6 diamonds and West having 4, actually supported by the first round of the suit because the ace of diamonds was played and the 7 on our right looks like a high card from therefore an even holding. That makes East have a 2-card difference in diamonds from West. So 6 over there on my left and 4 over there on my right. And in that case, that shifts the probabilities again so that taking the finesse is actually the better option. So it's very easy to rely on simply counting the number of cards and cashing the ace-king, but that's not the right thing to do today. As you can see here, with this 6-card diamond holding, it's much more likely that there's a singleton there. You can visibly see the difference with the 4-card holding and therefore the longer spades. Doesn't look unusual at all. So something to watch out for there. The other thing to note is that there's a sneaky chance that you might not have to lose a trick to the ace of hearts, which sounds pretty incredible. Looking at this hand, how am I supposed to avoid that? Well, this is a chance that I took on the hand as it happened. The opponents switched to a club, and at that point I can see that on the 4th round of clubs, which will be a winner, I could, if I'm very lucky, throw away one of my hearts. But it's not a good idea to draw trumps and then play 4 rounds of clubs throwing away a heart, because if I do that, the opponents are just going to snap up the ace when I play the next round. So what I should do, as I did today, I ruffed a diamond to ascertain what it looked like the break was, because I was still investigating the distribution. And then I played a very sneaky, cashed a round of trumps, of course, before my finesse in case the queen was singleton. And then I played a very sneaky 8 of hearts out of my hand. And if East had ducked, I could have won with the queen of hearts. It wouldn't have been unreasonable to duck at all, lots of people would have done, worried that they might establish my king. They did, but it didn't matter today. And then I have a nice opportunity. I can draw the rest of the trumps, and then when I play the 3rd round of clubs, I can throw away the heart. Didn't work today because East happened to pop up with the ace. Now the other thing to do before you do something like this is just to double check that that's not going to potentially end in disaster. So if I play a heart and the opponents win with the ace, what am I going to do if they then trump a club? Because it looks like East might have switched to a singleton club, right? So maybe West wins with the ace of hearts, and then they play a club and their partner roughs it. Well, in that case, I'm not really losing out, am I? That's one trick. The ace of hearts is another trick. And now I'm certainly going to not lose another trump trick. So I'm still not going to go down in my contract. I'm not risking the contract, but there's a chance that I might make 12 tricks if all goes well. So good to double check these things, because it would be really embarrassing to try for 12 tricks and then find that you only make 9. On the next hand, the opponents took over the wheel again. They played in 4 spades. East showed a balanced raise. West with 4 spades. Looks like an unbalanced hand over there, because 2 balanced hands are probably going to play in 3 no trumps. And my partner led the 2 of hearts. So I won with the ace. And at this point, I, as usual, counted the points. I could see that dummy had started with 11. I had certainly 3 tricks in my hand. I had 16, and Declara presumably had to have 12, right? But since I know that he's unbalanced, it could well be 11, maybe 10 if he happens to have 5, 5 and 2 suits or something. So let's say it's most optimistic possible, and Declara only has 10 points. Now we're in a situation where partner can just about have a king. So with any 12-point hand, my partner can only have a jack. If Declara's used the rule of 20, it might be a queen or a king. But what can we really do if partner has one of those cards? Is there anything that's going to be truly useful? Well, the Queen of Diamonds might be useful. It would give us a trick. But then again, these hearts are looking a little bit scary. The Queen of Diamonds would presumably make it so that Declara had the Jack of Hearts as well as the King. So it's starting to look a little bit like the diamonds could be thrown away. So you might switch to a diamond. Could definitely be right. It's going to be right if Declara has something like 5-5 in the majors. Remember that partner at this point could have 3 hearts, potentially. And then 2 diamonds and 1 club. It could be really important to switch to a diamond now before the trick disappears. But do we really think that Declara will have thrown the king away under the ace if they have 5 hearts? It seems very, very unlikely. I mean, it's certainly possible if it's king, jack, 10, 9, 8. But very, very unlikely. And it's a pretty bonkers shape anyway. So I decided to go for the much more run-of-the-mill scenario where I return a heart and I hope that Declara slips up and allows me to take a ruff that I'm not really entitled to. So here I returned a heart, and then, as you can see, any diamond finesse that they take is going to work, and we just get 2 aces after that. So can't stop the contract. I did try playing the 7 of diamonds, looking like a high card, to discourage them from taking the finesse, but without much hope. This hand was a really, really cool one. Where it really felt like I made the most of my knowledge about the hand. So the first thing to note is in the bidding. It's one of those funny hands where you have a singleton honour, specifically a singleton ace here. So that does make the judgment a little bit unusual because it starts to look more like a potential no trump hand. So at the point where I open 1 diamond, I'm expecting to have 3 choices what to rebid. I could rebid 2 clubs, and that would simply show a hand with 5 diamonds, 4 clubs, and less than the game force. So in theory up to about 18, and I do have 18. However, if I consider that my hand is a good 18, then I might choose to game force. It's not unheard of at all to play in a game with 24 points if you've got a fit with your partner in a suit. So if I felt like, for example, if my partner had responded 1 heart, then I would feel like my hand felt very big, and then I would be really, really wanting to play in a game. We might have a heart fit. I want to make sure that we find it if we do, so forcing is a really good thing to do. Maybe 3 clubs will be my next best option. Best option next. Or the other option, as I did today, is to bid 2 no trumps, showing 18 to 19 balanced. Now the reason I chose that today was because after the 1 heart overcall and then 1 spade by my partner, I started to devalue my hand. I knew that my partner had my singleton sewn up, so the singleton seemed like less of a problem and more like just signalling the hands weren't fitting together that well. So trying to show my hand as an unbalanced hand felt less necessary. And then the other thing was that because I had 2 honours and hearts, it looks like a double stop quite a lot of the time. I was really expecting my hand to play better in no trumps. So 3 no trumps it was, and the low heart lead came round to my jack. Now at this point there are a lot of things to think about. The fun has not stopped here. First thing to think about is the spades are blocked. Certainly something we could have foreseen with the singleton ace. But if I unblock the spades, how many entries do I have to the dummy? Not that many. So it might be that I need to cash these spades really early on and choose what to throw away from my hand, which might be a little bit difficult. The other thing to think about is this heart situation. It seems clear, especially given that there are only 11 points out there, that my left-hand opponent is the one with the ace and queen of hearts. So the last thing I want is to lose a trick to East and then have them play their second heart through me, because then West will just cash 4 heart tricks. I won't have a stop anymore. So the normal play in diamonds would be playing small towards the jack, but if it turns out that East has the king of diamonds, that's a death sentence for me. The other thing is that I've got to worry about what to do in clubs. The queen of clubs is missing, but I could finesse either way round in theory. An interesting thing to note is that given that I can place the ace and queen of hearts in my left-hand opponent's hand, and given that they made an overcall, I know that they've got to have another honour in that hand. They're not going to be doing this with some rubbishy 6-point suit and nothing else in that hand. They will have either the queen of clubs or the king of diamonds. So if it turns out that the queen of clubs is in East's hand, then the king of diamonds will definitely be in West's hand. And then I'll safely be able to play a diamond towards the jack in the dummy, which not only will establish my jack, but it will also provide me with another entry to the dummy. The other thing is that it could well be a good thing to do not to play the 5 of clubs to the ace in the dummy and then take a finesse. Remember, I'm always going to finesse through East because East is the danger hand. I want to, if anything, lose a trick to West if that's got to happen. If my club finesse loses, I don't have a sure way of getting back to the dummy, so I can't necessarily take the finesse again. So in order to potentially preserve a club entry, maybe the best thing to do is for me to play the jack of clubs over to the ace and then to finesse back with the 3. So as it happened, I unblocked the spade, always the correct trick 2 move, and I chose to play the jack of clubs, but to my surprise the queen of clubs popped up. Now at this point I know that the king of diamonds might be onside, it might not be onside, but I have an extra chance. If it turns out that the diamond is not onside, I might actually be able to squeeze West, which is what I did today. And the squeeze that you're about to see is called a strip squeeze. It's where the opponents are squeezed to a point where they get end played at the end, and you'll see what I mean as I play. So I played king of spades and discarded a diamond. Watch carefully what West discards. You'll find that it starts to make sense. I saw the 9 of spades, so I knew he had 3 spades. This was confirmed on the next round. And at this point, he's chosen to throw away a heart winner. Why is he throwing away a heart winner? Well, he's concerned about throwing away all his diamonds. If he had 4 low diamonds, he would have nothing to worry about. So it looks like he has the king of diamonds. So I'm pretty sure this is going to work now. So at this point, I need to keep both my ace and queen of diamonds. Obviously, I'm not going to throw away a club winner, so I threw away my little heart on the 10 of spades. And finally, West parted with the diamond. Fine. But at this point, I start to have the upper hand, because I can cash my clubs, the 9 happily keeping me in the dummy for now. And he's starting to be squeezed, but I still have to follow suit. Now, if I hadn't seen this heart discard earlier, I might give up all hope and think, oh, maybe the finesse is just working. But since his first move was to discard a winner to try to keep his diamonds safe, I can do better. So I left the dummy for good. I played my club, and West threw away another heart winner. Note, he can't throw away a diamond because then I just cash my ace of diamonds. And his king falls, and my queen is a winner. So he has to throw away a heart. Now I cash another club, and once again he throws away a heart winner. And I've been counting these hearts. I know that the only heart left is the ace. So I can safely lose a trick to West, the first trick that I lost, and he'll be forced to play a diamond back into my ace-queen tennis. So at this point, this is where the end play happens. At the point when he wins with his ace of hearts, he's forced to play something that gives me a trick, in this case a diamond. A very cool hand. Okay, this hand is a little bit mind-boggling because we've been switched around, so we're north at the bottom and south at the top. Just a word of warning, it's really easy to get confused with these things. I do it too, don't worry. So when I was south back in the day, I opened 1 diamond, and north wouldn't exactly have been my choice, but chose to bid 3 no trumps, and that happened to be fine. So note that this is going to become relevant later. Note that the 3 no trump bid categorically denies a 4 card major, because any 4 card major would show itself, because we might have an 8 card fit there. So at this point, East chose to lead the 10 of spades, and there's no real hurry to win the spade trick. If you win the spade trick, any trick that you lose to West now will allow him to play through your jack if this is the spade layout, if it turns out that the queen is on your left. It certainly looks like it probably is. If the queen is on your right, then it's always on your right. Any finesse that you take is going to win, so it doesn't matter whether that happens now or later. It could be right to win if you felt like West wouldn't be winning a trick anytime soon. Maybe then you would want to keep East on lead. Would work better today. But looking at this this heart holding, I was pretty sure that any heart finesse was, if it was going to lose, there's only one way to do it, so then West would end up winning a trick. Presumably West has a club on, I don't know which, and I haven't quite decided how I'm going to handle the diamonds yet. So I chose to duck this, try the finesse, didn't work today, and then on the third round, which cleared the suit, I was forced to win my ace. Now at this point I had an interesting decision. It looks like the hand is going terribly at this point, because East has a couple of spade winners to take, and they've already taken 2 tricks. So any one trick that they win will allow them to cash 3 more. Then I'm going down. So what I want to do is, at all costs, prevent West from getting his partner on lead. And I can see that if I try to do something fairly normal, such as taking a diamond finesse into the safe West hand, if West wins this trick, he's going to look at these holdings in the dummy and think, okay, clearly I shouldn't be playing a diamond. Let's declare a suit, so should I be playing a heart or a club? And the heart holding looks very, very scary to play into. Playing into it guarantees me 2 tricks in hearts. So playing a club looks much more appealing with just the jack in the dummy. So I decided to use the West's psychology against him. He knows from the bidding that I don't have a 4-card major, as I mentioned earlier. It also looks like my suit is either diamonds or clubs. Often it will be clubs, in which case a club looks like normally a scary suit to play. So I decided to take the heart finesse first, making the a heart's return more appealing than a club switch. So sadly the King of Hearts took the trick, but because of my ploy, West played a heart next, rather than a club. And you can see from his hand why that looks much more sensible. So I won, and then I tried another finesse into the safe hand. That didn't work either, although even finessing the other way around would have resulted in losing a diamond trick today. So everything was a little bit hopeless. But the psychology of this hand was quite nice. It was a pretty hopeless contract, but it's nice sometimes to get into your opponent's heads. This time we got our go at a slam. We were actually this south hand today. So when you pick up a hand like this, what do you want to do? Do you want to treat it as an unbalanced hand or a balanced hand? There are definitely people who, given that it's 15 points and semi-balanced, would much prefer to treat it as a balanced hand and open 1 no trump. It's an option. Today I decided against that option because of my small doubleton in hearts. I had no stop, no particular pointy holding, and ace doubleton in clubs doesn't look like a holding that needs to be protected by a 1 no trump bid. It's not a particularly helpful no trump stop, so I chose to open a diamond instead. And then the next problem is, okay, so if I open a diamond and my partner responds in some sort of major, or even 2 clubs, what do I do? Do I treat this as a minimum hand with sort of maximum of 15 points? Or do I upgrade and treat it as a sort of 16 to 18 hand, which I'll often do with 15, because 15's on that borderline? Do I treat it as a maximum or a minimum? And to be honest, it depends what partner bids next. You know, if my partner bids 2 clubs, then I definitely want to show it as a maximum. If my partner bids spade, my hand looks really, really good. So unless I have some fancy gadgets, I'm probably going to bid 3 diamonds next. But if my partner bids hearts, as he did today, my hand doesn't look any better. There's nothing redeeming about my hand. I've got no helpful honour in my partner's suit. We already know I don't have a singleton. It's unclear how useful the Queen of Spades is. You know, my suit itself is not that beautiful. So I chose just to go the low road and bid 2 diamonds. At that point, my partner leapt to a quantitative 4 no trumps, which just means it's an invitation to slam. I'm supposed to pass if I have a minimum and bid 6 no trumps if I haven't. maximum. And here, I clearly have a maximum. I was very happy to see 4 no trumps because my decision was easy here. I've already wondered about, showing my hand as a better hand than I have, twice. So, given that I was really on the cusp of showing this as a maximum opening hand, of course I have an accept. So I bid 6 no trumps, and the play was really not interesting because they let a club. I just have 13 tricks now. Even if the diamonds are 4-0, I have 13 tricks. So there was no playing, there was only claiming. Finally, on deal 10, another weak 2 opening by the opponents, but this time after I had passed. My partner bid quite a heavy 2 spades, and I, with my 11-point hand with a stopper in the opponent's suit, chose to bid 2 no trumps. I'm invitational to game, and I have a stop in the opponent's suit, and I don't have support for spades. So far, so normal. My partner bid 3 hearts today because they had a strong hand, and when I investigated the meaning of my 2 no trump bid, it didn't seem to have any indication that I had a heart stop. And when the 3 heart bid was made, it seemed from the description like my partner might be worried about a heart stop. So I think ordinarily with a human, I would recommend bidding 3 spades. Partner already knows that you don't have 3 of them, just to keep your options open because you've already shown a heart stop. But today with Arjun, I was nervous that it didn't know that I had a heart stop, so I thought I needed to make things as clear as possible, and I just bid 3 no trumps, which, as it happens, is a perfectly sensible contract. However, I'll go back one so you can see the shape of the hand. So here I have 2 spade tricks, 1 heart, 4 clubs. That's 2 tricks short of 9, but I can easily establish 2 more by pushing out the ace of diamonds and enjoying my other 2 diamond honours. Fine, except for the fact that I only have 1 heart stop. So the first point is that the correct thing to do is to duck 2 rounds of hearts. Watch what happens in the east hand. As the hearts get played, he runs out of cards in his partner's suit. So now, any time that he wins a trick, he won't be able to play the dangerous suit. That therefore means that if East has the ace of diamonds, I'm going to make my contract. Now, I had a bit of a think, as you always should, about whether it might be preferable to try doing some caching first, or trying to finesse in spades. But that would never result in enough tricks because the spade is only ever going to give me 1 more trick. So I need this diamond thing to work. It's actually possible. I know that today it turned out that East had the Queen of Hearts, so that only gave West 4 points in hearts. But West could easily have had the Queen of Spades as well, and that would have been a 6-point hand, which is perfectly fine for bidding 2 hearts. So it was possible, and actually slightly more than 50%, because we already know, I'll show you the beginning again, we already know that West has 6 hearts and East only 3, so with more spaces available for diamonds, as you can see with the case today, West is less likely to have the ace. Sorry, East is more likely to have the ace. It's probably a clearer way of saying it because they've got more diamonds in their hand on average. So that actually means that the contract is better than 50%. If anybody managed to play in 4 spades, which you managed to do if instead of my 3-note trump bid, I do bid 3 spades. If you manage to play 4 spades, you'll get a very good score because that one's just making. Very nice today. So at the moment, I don't know how well I've done because all my scores are 50%. I'm the first one to play. So I'm excited to see how that develops, excited to see how many of you manage to beat my score. As I say, quite a lot of defensive hands where what I did didn't matter, but I want you to think about the thought processes when trying to count what Declara has and things. And there are a couple of hands where we did some really good things, so yeah, hoping for a decently above average score on this one. But most of all hoping that you guys have learned something useful from the way I played and my thoughts on these hands. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next tournament. Take care everyone, bye!